Hi, everybody. Welcome to the UEA's Nursing Podcast. My name's Joe Ellis-Gage, and today we are talking about studying nursing as a mature student. So we've got two guests with us today. So welcome, Sherrie and Tasha. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us. So
you two volunteered to kind of talk about your experience over the last 3 years. You've both just qualified a couple of months ago. Do you want to just take a second, just introduce yourself so we know who you are, what you studied, and what course you were on, that kind of stuff.
You want to go first?
Sure, yeah.
Go for it.
My name is Tasha. I've just studied children's nursing.
Yeah, and you've just finished.
Just finished and graduated and just started first nursing job last month.
Brilliant.
Okay. And I'm Sherrie, and I also studied children's nursing, and I have also just started work. Well, I've been in work a month now.
Yeah. So you both work now in different places, but you both started about a month ago, and just on the other side, you've finished.
Yes, we're out in the open.
Done.
Yeah, there was relief in that voice. Okay, so I guess the reasons that you two said this would be an interesting one for you guys to talk about, and you volunteered yourself, is as much as you may dislike the phrase, you were mature students when you came into it.
Yes.
I think mature student officially is like 21 and above, so I think you can get away.
Mature.
Like cheese. So let's just start. When did you come into do nursing, and what did you do before? So sort of how did you end up both on a nursing course slightly later than most people would do?
Do you want to go?
Yeah, well, I had a whole host of jobs throughout my 20s and 30s, I guess. But my most recent one before the nursing, I was working with refugees.
Okay.
And I was working with the People from Abroad team in Norwich. And when I first started there, originally I was supposed to be teaching English to adults. But because I had worked in a school, and I'd worked in a primary school for 3 years before, they nabbed me to look after the children of the adults who were being taught English. And I just thought at the time that there must be a better way to help. And so my idea, and Jeremy Corbyn had also said that there's a whole load of women out there in their 40s who would be brilliant nurses because they've had life experience and they would be great. But no one's making use of these women who are out there, who have raised families and could be out there doing good stuff. And it was just then after working with the refugees, and COVID was happening and the refugee centre was shutting down, and I applied to UEA. And I had an interview then 2 weeks later, a phone interview, and I was offered a place. Depending on my GCSEs from 1993, that I couldn't actually find, and because it was COVID as well, everything was shut down, and I had to go through this whole system of trying to find GCSEs.
To prove that you've got the right grades.
I already had another degree, which was strange, so I was saying I must have them because I've already done this degree. I say, no, we need to see this Maths and English GCSE. But I did get them the day before my cut-off date, and then I was offered a place, and I started.
Here you are. What was your other degree in?
History.
History.
Yeah.
So that's what you did, straight from school, or did you do that later as well?
I did that later in life. When the children were young, I needed something and I needed something that I could do for myself, so I did a degree in history while they were 2 and 4.
Oh, okay. Well, that seems like a really easy time to get a degree. Yeah, why not?
I like an easy life.
Okay, so you kind of had experience of like looking after people in different areas. You worked in schools, then you were working with kids, and you thought, I need to do something more solid with it, and that's when you
I need
it.
to help in a more consistent way.
Yeah.
So nursing seemed like a really good idea, and it was something I thought I could do, and so I applied and I did it. It still surprises me. I still, like in the sluice on a night shift, I still think, what?
How am I here?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure this happened, but actually it's been a really lovely time to do it because my children are teenagers. I got one doing A-levels, one doing GCSEs this year. The challenges are different from having small children like you've had, because I've had stroppy teenagers throughout all this. But, it seemed like a really good time to do it, because now I can, for, my rest of my 40s and my 50s, I've got a consistent plan.
And although it feels like you were doing it older, you've still got loads of working time left in you. Like if you hadn't done it,
Yeah, and there's quite a, that some people come into it anyway when they're young and then
Yeah.
you do it for a small amount of time
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
leave or go off and do other things. And there's a whole load of things that I can still do. I still would like to be able to prescribe and
Yep.
things like that. There's a plan that I'm aiming for. But no, it gives me a bit of who I am.
Yeah.
It allows me to be me,
Yeah.
not just mum.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. We'll come back and we'll talk about the comparison of the age of children in a minute, because that's
Yeah.
quite an interesting, the differences of the challenges. But so Tasha, tell us about how you got here and how you went into nursing.
I always wanted to work with children, and I didn't really know how. When I was younger, I considered teaching and doing all sorts of different things, but I wasn't really sure what to do. And I'd done care work for quite a few years when I was sort of late teens, early 20s, and I really enjoyed that and enjoyed the whole working with people side of things. And then I had children when I was, I think, 24. I had my first child and sort of took a step back from knowing what I really wanted to do with work, because I focused on them when they were young and didn't really know how to get into it. And then, I think they were then 2 and 4 when I decided to do the access course. So I'd been working in children's residential homes for a little while.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I definitely wanted to work with younger people. And then, I was having a little look online, I think, and just trying to decide on where I wanted to go, because I knew that I wanted to try and build a career that I could, have a career that I could build on, and something that's always going to be there and nice and reliable. I found nursing and thought I would go in and do the access course. So I did that for a year, and then applied for children's nursing at UEA. I didn't really think that I was going to get into it as well, because I had heard that the children's nursing, they weren't really taking as many people on as the adult nurses.
Yeah, the numbers are lower, definitely.
Yeah. So I was quite worried about that, and then being an older student as well, thinking, well, it's going to be a lot of younger people applying, and I might not, my chances might not be as good as them, but no, I somehow managed to get on.
And you're there. And what do you reckon, thinking about your kind of cohort on the children's nursing, how many were mature students, do you reckon? Just trying to think through your group.
I think
There were a little small group of you, weren't there?
Maybe.
Yeah.
6 out of 40-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we found each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We naturally just came
I think because
together.
we're quite a small cohort as well, everyone was very friendly anyway.
Yeah.
So we all knew who had families.
And you had to
who-
meet each other all online to start with, though, did you? Which you would have
Yeah.
started
We did, because it was
of
COVID.
COVID.
We
Yeah.
spent the whole first year online, really, didn't we? We
Yeah.
came in, I think, for the first.
I don't even remember when we first came in. We
I
might
think
have had
came
some
in with
skills
Teresa, skills.
Yeah.
And,
in
Did some-
first year, but other than that, it was all
and lifting and
online.
handling.
Yeah, some of the
Yeah.
real essential stuff you had
Yeah,
to be in
yeah.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember teaching your cohort when I started, and I was introducing myself, and then I realised that you lot didn't know each other very well, so I ended up having to get people to
Yeah.
introduce to each other. This
Yeah.
was probably the end of the first year, maybe.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
still don't know some of them,
yeah,
which is awful.
Considering it's such a small cohort as well.
Yeah, but because we were so separate, and because UEA, you can go everywhere in your placements. Some people I never came across
yeah,
in placements.
just didn't. Yeah.
And some people, because they're young and they tended to stick together and do all the social stuff that they did on the campus,
Yeah.
we never really came across
No.
them too much, apart from in the occasional lesson.
Yeah.
Which is different now, because more people are coming into the
Yeah,
place now.
you'd be in for a lot more. You will see each other more. But yeah, I guess when you were doing it, and you kind of had your little group, so that's who you saw the most of, I suppose.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
placement is interesting, yeah, because you can see only maybe, I don't know, 10 people from your program on placement over the 3 years, because your placements just might line up with them and not with anyone else.
Yeah, and every time I did come across somebody from the cohort, we stuck together. We
Yeah.
did support each other. We messaged, and whoever I was with, whether they were young or whether they were my age, or no one was my age, I don't think, but whether they were, anyone, everyone was very friendly. Everyone's very welcoming in nursing. That's what I think anyway, even the students.
Yeah, definitely.
there's
Yeah, and you have to kind of stick up
You work
and
as
look
a
out
team.
for each other. Yeah.
Mm.
So when you applied, was there a bit of you that was, you sort of said that you might not have as good a chance getting on, you suddenly thought maybe you could
Yeah.
be, was there a bit of you that went, I'm too old to do this, or I don't want to be the older person doing it, or anything like that? Or-
Yeah, there was. And even now, I still, when I say, oh, I'm newly qualified, oh, I had a midlife crisis type thing, I feel like I need to justify it.
Why you're newly qualified at this point.
And I don't really necessarily want to justify it, but I
Or
feel
need to.
that, but there's so many. It's a nice thing with nurses. You meet people from all over the world and of all different ages, and everyone just, like I said, everyone comes together nicely. So no one really takes any notice of age.
No, they don't really care once you're there, do they?
No,
it
it's
doesn't
such
really
a diverse
matter.
group.
Yeah, and you get, because like you said, you get people who go into nursing when they're 18, but then go and do something else before they're 40, and they've done it just for their younger years. You get people who have worked in the same building for 40 years and are still there in their 60s, and you get people who come in later. Whole, it doesn't really...
There's no pattern to it.
No.
And so it was fairly easy. So, so apart from that initial thing on every placement of doing that, of, here I am, look, I know you expected someone young. They didn't expect someone young. They just expected somebody. And they had all my details anyway, so I suppose they would have known.
Yeah, they'd done.
Yeah.
They'd worked out. Yeah, and actually, it's not that uncommon. Nursing is... I don't know if there are some degrees where it's primarily much younger people on it, but nursing does attract in a lot of older people.
Yeah. And you've all got children then.
Yeah.
Or, you've got families, so you talk about that, and then that, that's nice and easy thing to bond over and things.
Yeah.
And understand each other,
Okay. And so in those first few months, aside from the fact it was COVID and there was a bigger challenges from that, what would you say the biggest challenges were starting the programme with your lives? So was it the balancing the childcare and the children? Was it studying with the children? What were the challenges?
Yeah, I think because when I started, when it was everything was online pretty much.
So were they.
They were also being homeschooled, or I was having to try and homeschool them from my computer at home, as well as trying to attend lectures. And that was quite challenging. I ended up having to do most of my work in the evenings so that I could still do their schooling and education from home in the day when their lectures or then when their classes were on. So that was quite a challenging part of it, I think, trying to balance it. And also I think just getting back into doing just getting back into actually doing work from home and learning again after being out of school for so long was...
Did you find the Access course helped?
Yeah, definitely.
Like prepare you to kind of be studying?
Yeah, I think it did. But then because of COVID again, that got cut short. So we didn't get to do our final sort of half dissertation that we were supposed to do.
Oh, okay.
So we ended up just getting predicted grades because the college had to close. So there wasn't like the big assignment that we had to do at the end, which I think we were all quite looking forward to doing because it was going to be a good practice before we started. But it was definitely,
because that stepping up to study is hard. Like everyone finds the first year from an academic point of view is like a bit of a challenge because it's different and they've got to learn, and whether you've come straight from A levels and it is a big step up, or from an Access course it's hard. But you'd already done a degree, but some time ago, I guess, and a completely different sort of degree. How was that?
Well, I kept on going actually because I do random courses.
Okay.
And I did like animal psychology and I did metaphysics.
Animal
I keep going. Right. Well, whatever I'm interested in, I study. And you can actually just do these little like diplomas and things online. So I keep doing that because I'm interested in stuff.
Yeah.
But when it was difficult. I know, that's so ridiculous. But I think about it now. I think, why have I done that?
Are you like a dog whisperer?
I'm getting a dog.
She actually has a Norwegian dog from abroad.
My dog from abroad is arriving on Wednesday. But when I first started this, it was a bit tricky because of the whole COVID thing. So I had 2 teenagers, and I still have 2 teenagers, but one teenager who was working at home in the room next to where I was working was really enthusiastic, and they gave them so much work that she couldn't cope. So there was so much work, and then she would do the extra work, and then she'd do all this, and I can't do it anymore, I can't cope. And then I had another one who thought, well, we're working from home, I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
And wouldn't do a thing. So the advice from the school was for both of them to do the bare minimum. So every time we had a lecture and we had like, go and get yourself a cup of tea, I'm thinking, I haven't got time for tea. I'm like, right, how are you doing? And then they said, and how are you doing? Are you actually doing anything? And one would be playing a game and one would be, like this, just in the room. So it was quite stressful. But I think the way that the university did it made it a lot easier because we didn't have to do our work there and then. We you're given a week of work and you just get to do it as and when, and none of it wasn't lengthy work. It was just a lot of the time you were just learning, you were just absorbing the information, you were just listening, watching videos and making notes.
And then that part of that being an adult learner is you can learn when the time suits you.
Exactly.
And that generally works. Yeah. But sometimes it's hard because you might be like one of your teenagers and think, well, I'll do that later, or I'll do it another time.
I'll do it never.
Never.
Yeah, there's that. And then I had the joyous discovery that I was a key worker and that the children could go into school. And that they could be the ones. And that suited the older one because the older one needed that structure and could then, it wasn't overwhelming, and it suited the younger one because then they had to do the work as well. So that was nice. That released a whole load of the pressure.
Yeah. I think I had it easy by working in hospital throughout the first year of the COVID. So it's like, I don't have to do any of this because the children were just in. So we talked about that first year of like studying and getting to grips with all of that kind of balancing of things and balancing kind of childcare and all of that. How did your first assignments go? Like, did you get straight on top of them? Did you achieve what you wanted to do? Were they a shock that you did better or worse? Or
for me, I think because I was really excited to start, and I was like, I wasn't expecting really to be in on the course anyway, and so I was very excited to just jump in and do it. I ended up focusing a lot on that one. And
were you like super keen and well behaved and getting everything done?
And I did better on that assignment than I did any others within the next 2 years, I think.
So it just went downhill from your first assignment. Okay.
I did the first one and I was like, okay, I can relax a little bit now. And I did fine, but the first one I think because I was so worried about not being able to take it in as well, I really put a lot of energy into it and managed to do quite well.
Do you think you took it all more seriously because you were a little bit older, or because it was a bigger deal, because it was a big decision to go into it, you hadn't just fallen into it?
Yeah, I think so. And just knowing that, I have a house and I have kids, and I had a lot relying on me doing this and passing and doing well, because it's a career that I really want to get, and I need to do it. I need to get money. And
people
there was
a lot more,
a lot more dependent on me doing that, and I wanted to do well because I want to possibly be able to progress further in the future as well. So
Okay, Sherrie, how was yours?
I don't remember what grade I got or anything. I think the first one was all right. That was
you kind of settled into it fine.
And it was, the first assignments are like a starter assignment, aren't they? So that's fine. And then it's as you progress through the years, they get a little bit more complex. And things. So I think the first year was great.
It was all right. You can
And then of course we had our big long placement then at the end.
Well, that was the next bit. So you're different to how the structure would be for anyone having it now. You basically had an 8-week placement, a week of simulation, and then another 8-week placement. So you were kind of out for 4 or 5 months in one, and those 2 placements were in the same place.
In COVID gear.
In COVID gear with the masks and all of that kind of stuff. So that's pretty tough regardless. And fortunately, we're not able to do that anymore, and people have got placements spread out, and that's all nice. But how did that go? What went well during your first placement?
Personally, I loved it because I really loved the placement area, and that's where I've got my job now, because I really enjoyed the long placement there. I think with it being such a long placement, you got to actually do more things, and you were trusted to do more things, and you settled in, a lot more than what you would if you were just at, say, a 4-week placement somewhere else. But yeah, I think I really enjoyed it. I think it went really well.
And how did it work with kids, life, all of that once you throw in 12-hour shifts?
Yeah, it was a bit of an adjustment for them as well. So they were having to get used to obviously me not being there for 3 days a week. But I was really lucky that I've got really supportive family who have always said that they'll look after the children and help with any school runs and stuff like that if I need them to while I was at uni.
Yeah.
So that was very helpful, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without them, because otherwise I would have had to pay for childcare and
that on top of everything else that you've got to do is well, also the childcare no childcare really suits the hours that you need to work, because once you add in a bit of travel time to get to wherever you're going, having childcare that starts before 7 a.m. and keeps going till 8 p.m. is
I don't think I would have been able to do it.
It would be maybe a very good childminder or something, but so that's hard. And how did they cope with the fact you weren't there?
It's always an adjustment. Whenever I found that throughout the 3 years, whenever I would go on placement, it would take them a good 2-3 weeks to adjust to me having to get them up early in the mornings and go and drop them off at the parents, and then not seeing them until after bedtime sometimes. And it took them a while to adjust, and they were quite young as well, so they would get a little bit upset for the first few weeks that I was doing it, which also obviously then made the mum guilt awful.
Oh, that's one. I was about to say, do you feel bad for doing it?
Oh yeah, I did all the time, and it was just constantly having to remind myself like why I'm doing it and what it's going to be like when I finished, and just having to really try and remember that all the time.
Yeah, and was it worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
So you're now still doing those
I'm
shifts
still doing
and
the
all of
shifts
that,
now,
but without the study and without the other, well, for now anyway, until you go off and do another course or two. And how did you find it with older kids to deal with during placements? How was your first placement?
Well, I really loved the first placement, and I'm also working at that hospital, just in a different area, because it was a really welcoming and friendly environment. As for the children or the teenagers, one could get themselves to school, and the other one went to a different school in a different town, so I had to rely on my husband being home, because he would work from home, and we found a way.
Yeah.
But I think it's good for them in a way, because it encouraged them to be a bit more independent, and they need that, and they also need to see me as a working person and a human being rather than just mum. And I think that mum guilt is there forever. I don't think that ever goes away. I feel guilty about the most silly things that couldn't possibly be my fault.
Yeah.
But that's just part of being
that
mum.
they've not even realised is a thing, and you're still worrying about it.
Yeah. And so I still have that. So overall, I think it's good. It teaches them that, at any point in life you can go off and do whatever you want to do. If you decide you're going to do something, there is a way of doing it, and that I am also a person.
Yeah. And as once they get to teenagers, it's important that they're reminded of that once in a while.
Yeah. The thing is about doing it all with teenagers, at any one point one of them hates you. And you have to deal with that, or they get themselves into really silly situations. I remember once, because the older one had started college and was in a different town at college, and I'd finished a 12-hour shift in the hospital that was a 45-minute drive away, and I had a phone call from a number I didn't recognise, and my eldest was at a Tesco because they had their phone had run out of charge and their bus ticket had been on the phone, so they'd been wandering around town for 4 hours.
Waiting for you to finish.
Yeah. And so the nice people in Tesco said that I could use their phone, and luckily I remembered your number, so that was great. So it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
So then we print the bus ticket out, so we have definitely got that barcode printed and there, and all numbers are written down.
Yeah, interesting. So, because the assumption is, I don't know, people watching this at the start was doing this with 2 and a 4-year-old or doing this with a teenagers. You go, well, it must be easier with teenagers because they're independent and they get on with their lives. But I don't know. I'm not convinced it
No,
is it?
it's a whole different set of challenges.
Mine just stay in one place.
Yeah,
when I go to
and
those.
like I said, the whole hate thing. But apparently that hate is because they've always got you, so it's unconditional love.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, gosh, mine must really love me.
I feel like that as well.
Yeah. No, it's just a different set of challenges.
Yeah, and I always find now that when they were really little, no matter how hard it gets, you go 7:30, they're going to be in bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once you've got a teenager, you're like, you're still here.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
still up.
Yeah, and they want to be up all night because of their rhythm. So
Yeah.
they're quite difficult. They still need all those same things. You still need to do the washing. You still need to do the cooking. In fact, you need to make sure that they're definitely eating their vegetables because that will affect their mood.
Yeah.
Right, and fruit and everything. You need to make sure that you've got everything balanced for them to be balanced, for them to be nice to you. So yeah, it is a different challenge. It's a whole different set of rules, and I don't know what would be. I think it's more pressure maybe to have small children. I don't know, because at least, like I said, mine could get themselves to school and
they're a bit more
get
independent
themselves to college and things like that.
Yeah.
It's just trusting them to do those things while you're not there.
Yeah, I think either way, there's a lot of extra stuff to consider, isn't there? I don't think either would be easier. I think it's just more responsibility either way, isn't it?
Yeah, they each come with their own challenges, don't they? So, all in all, it sounds like there have been challenges along the way, but I mean, maybe the fact that you both volunteered to come and do this shows that you survived and it was all right, and you're kind of positive about it now. What would you say is the bit of advice if you've got someone who was considering going in to study nursing, but they were like, "Oh, I've got 2 kids, or I can't. I'm stressed about the money, or I'm stressed about the being older than everyone else and studying again." What sort of advice would you give those people?
I think just maybe that it's not as bad as what people think it could be. Like, I would have so many people saying like, "Oh, you're at uni full time, like, and you've got 2 small children, like that must be so difficult." And I'm like, well, there are some challenges, obviously, and it is stressful at times, but it's not that bad. Like, it is doable, I think, as long as you're in the right mindset that this needs to be done at this time, and like as long as you can be organised, I think, as well, and you're quite strict with how you sort of plan things, then it's not as stressful, I don't think, as what people think it could be.
Okay.
No,
What do
I
you
just
reckon?
think that if you want to do something,
if you really want to do it, then you
should
can
do it, and you'll find a way, and you're going to be in a place full of understanding, supportive people generally who are also in that same situation. That's what nursing
And I found
attracts.
placements and stuff, UEA were pretty helpful and accommodating. I think at the start of first year I said that I've got small children, so I asked if I could be like either put in the 2 hospitals closest to me rather than having to travel for an hour and a half to get to the one, and that was fine, and that was sort of held up throughout the 3 years that I was there, and I didn't have to go.
Yeah, we kind of
really
like
far.
it's a balancing act of not allowing people to do whatever they want, but we're kind of accommodating and understanding of the fact that you've got all the extra challenges of children.
So the people on the placements.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've also got all those extra challenges.
Definitely.
Well, they've got people who have got those extra challenges, and so you work together.
And is there anything you would have done differently over the 3 years that you, on reflection, you go, "Oh, actually, I could have done that differently, it would have been better, or this differently," or?
I think I could spend my life worrying about things like that.
Yeah.
But I would choose not to. There are certainly things that I could have done better. Certainly things I could have organised.
Yeah.
But that's not the way life goes. And so, and it's not the way nursing is either, is it? You're kind of, you have to do the job on the fly, really. You have to work, as you find it.
Yeah, you just deal with it. And if you didn't...
You can be as prepared as possible.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
But I guess otherwise you just deal with the challenges when they come up, and
you can't help it if a child's sick.
it is what it is.
No, you can't predict what's going to happen, really, can you? You just have to, I think you have to be quite easygoing and just be able to say like, oh, okay, this has happened. How am I going to sort this out, or what can I do to help this? And there's so much support through uni and placements that it was never really a massive issue if I think anything went wrong, was it? It was, yeah.
We did it.
You did it. Yeah, you did 3 year of what is a hard degree regardless, in a pandemic, balancing your own lives and children, and you're now qualified, got the jobs that you wanted to go and get, and you're all set.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's weird.
I know, it is weird. We're still in the weird phase.
That weird bit when you're not a student anymore. Do you try and
Yes.
like say you're a student when you're at work, when you like?
I want to say that.
No,
I'm
we
a
can say
student
I could say supernumerary. Oh, supernumerary.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, no, I don't mind. People, we just run a blue uniform, so people come in, talk to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
been
I
there
think the
years.
change that you get when you put on the blue uniform, like from how people speak to you as a student to when you first go in with that blue uniform on, everyone speaks to you differently.
Yeah.
They're asking your opinion on things, and you're like, wow, people speak to me so much more than what they did when you were a student.
Interesting. Yeah. That view of that you're just a nurse now, you're one of the team, you're in,
Yeah.
and that's it. Interesting. Well, there we go. All right. Well, thank you for coming in and chatting to us about it. I think that would be useful for people who are just starting and thinking, how am I going to get through the next 3 years? Or people who haven't even started yet and are thinking, should I go and study at UEA to do nursing? Hopefully
They definitely should.
They definitely should.
I think they should.
Yeah. Children and young people's nursing, I think probably is the course they should do,
I
maybe.
think that's,
Yeah.
that's probably the best one, really.
They can come on any of the fields. I'm not biased at all. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Hopefully you've watched this video to the end and you found it useful. So please hit like, share it, subscribe to the channel, add any questions or comments below, and have a little explore, because there's lots of different videos that will be available, and there'll be more coming up over the coming weeks. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.